When the new tenants moved into the house next door, I was excited to finally have neighbors again. They were a young couple with a baby, and they seemed friendly enough. For the first few weeks, everything was normal. But then, strange things started happening. It started with noises in the middle of the night, crying, screaming, and what sounded like furniture being thrown around. I assumed the couple was just having a rough time adjusting to their new home and a newborn baby. But the noises continued, growing more disturbing each night. One night, the noises were so loud that I couldn't ignore them any longer. I went outside and saw the woman standing in her front yard, staring at my house. Her eyes were wide, and she looked terrified. When I asked if she was okay, she didn't respond. She just turned and walked back inside. Concerned, I called the police. They arrived and spoke with the couple, but after a brief conversation, they left, assuring me that everything was fine. The noises stopped for a while, but then they started again, louder and more frequent. I decided to talk to the couple directly, but they never answered the door, no matter how many times I knocked. One night, I heard a loud crash and the sound of someone crying. I rushed outside and saw the man running out of the house, holding the baby. He jumped into his car and sped away. The woman appeared in the doorway, covered in blood, and collapsed on the front lawn. I called 911, and the police and ambulance arrived quickly. The woman was taken to the hospital, and the man was arrested a few hours later. It turned out that he had been abusing her for months, and she had been too scared to leave. The baby was placed in protective custody, and the house next door has been empty ever since. I had always been curious about my eccentric neighbor, Mr. Finch. He was an older man who kept to himself, rarely seen outside his house. One day, while doing some gardening, I noticed a peculiar metal hatch partially hidden under a pile of leaves in his backyard. Curiosity got the better of me, and I decided to investigate. I waited until I saw Mr. Finch leave his house. Then I snuck into his backyard and opened the hatch. It led to a set of stairs descending into darkness. Against my better judgment, I grabbed a flashlight and climbed down. What I found was a network of underground tunnels, with rooms filled with bizarre collections of old newspapers, broken electronics, and strange symbols painted on the walls. As I explored further, I stumbled upon a locked door. Through a crack, I could see what looked like a makeshift lab with strange equipment and jars filled with unidentifiable substances. Suddenly, I heard footsteps above me. Panicking, I turned off my flashlight and hid behind a stack of crates. Mr. Finch descended the stairs, muttering to himself. He entered the lab and began working on something I couldn't see. The air was thick with the smell of chemicals, and my heart pounded in my chest. After what felt like hours, Mr. Finch left, and I took the opportunity to escape. I climbed back up the stairs and ran home, my mind racing with what I had seen. I decided to report it to the police, but when they investigated, they found nothing. The hatch was gone, and there was no sign of any underground tunnels. Mr. Finch acted as if nothing had happened, and I was left questioning my sanity. The experience left me paranoid and fearful of what other secrets my neighbors might be hiding. After moving into my new house, I noticed that the attic window of the house next door always seemed to have a shadowy figure standing behind it. It was an old, creepy house that had been vacant for years, so I found it strange that someone was there now. One night, I saw movement in the attic window. The figure seemed to be watching me. I felt a chill run down my spine, but tried to dismiss it as my imagination. Over the next few weeks, I continued to see the figure, always standing in the same spot, always watching. One evening, curiosity got the better of me, and I decided to investigate. I made my way to the house and found the front door unlocked. I hesitated for a moment, but then stepped inside. The house was cold and dark, filled with the scent of dust and decay. I climbed the creaky stairs to the attic. The attic was filled with old furniture and boxes. I shone my flashlight around, and then I saw the figure from the window. It was a life-sized mannequin dressed in old, tattered clothes, positioned to look out the window. I felt a wave of relief wash over me, but it was short-lived. I heard footsteps behind me. I turned around and saw a man standing there, staring at me with a sinister grin. He was the owner of the house, and he explained that he used the mannequin to scare off trespassers. He claimed he had seen me watching from my window and decided to have some fun with me. Terrified, I ran out of the house and called the police. When they arrived, the man was gone and the house was empty again. They told me the house had been abandoned for years and no one should have been living there. The experience left me feeling violated and constantly on edge, never knowing if the man might return. I had always felt a little uneasy around my neighbor, Mr. Davis. He was friendly enough, but there was something off about him. He always seemed to know too much about what was going on in my life. One day, I found out why. I was cleaning my living room when I noticed a small, blinking light behind one of my picture frames. I pulled it off the wall and discovered a tiny camera hidden there. Shocked and horrified, I searched the rest of my house and found more cameras in my bedroom, bathroom, and kitchen. I immediately called the police, who came and removed the cameras. They traced them back to Mr. Davis, who had been secretly filming me for months. He had installed the cameras while I was at work, using a spare key he had stolen from my hiding spot outside. Mr. Davis was arrested, and it turned out he had done this to several other neighbors as well. He had been collecting footage and selling it online. The thought of someone watching my every move made me feel violated and unsafe in my own home. I changed all my locks, installed a security system, and tried to move on, but the fear lingered. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was still being watched, even though Mr. Davis was in jail. The experience left me paranoid and constantly checking for hidden cameras everywhere I went.